Hi, I'm Sam Candy and welcome to Sustain Talks. Today I'm joined by Phil Williams from PlanItEco. Phil is an environmentalist, motivational speaker and sustainability trainer and so much more. I had the pleasure of randomly meeting Phil and couldn't wait to find out more. So here we're welcome to have Phil with us. I've really been looking forward to this. Hello Phil, how are you?
Fine. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to be part of this as well. So thank you.
Oh, I know it's going to be a lot of fun. I certainly do. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do? The long list of fabulous things you've been involved in.
I'll try and do this as briefly as I can. I graduated from the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama a very long time ago because my dream at that time was always to be a director. I wanted to be a stage director. Cut a long story short, I worked in theatre for a while and then I got a contract to present BBC television educational programmes. That led me to go out to Singapore. I'm trying to keep this precise. From Singapore, I went and lived in Malaysia, then the Philippines, then Costa Rica. And during that time, I started to work behind the camera on documentaries and wildlife programs, etc., etc. I've always loved people and I've always loved wildlife. But when I was in Singapore, Malaysia, I started to realize, A, how much they matter to everybody, how much I loved all these things. And I said, you know what? We can't keep just like destroying the rainforest and everything. And when I was in Costa Rica, I was fortunate enough to travel into South America, into the Amazon, and live and spend time with some of the indigenous people over there. Then in 1996, I decided I've had enough of this. We need to do something. So I came back to the UK to try and make people understand the importance of respect. Respect for the environment, respect for all people, and respect for oneself. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but here I am 26 years later, and I'm now working with corporates like Sony and BP and GlaxoSmithKline. I go out to schools. I'm happy working with year ones and twos all the way through to university. And then I do some, I don't think they're strange really, but I take students, I also take business people out to the Amazon rainforest. Now the reason for that, I want them to see and experience cultures that are far removed from our own, to meet the local people, to find out their views on what is happening. And then, yes, people could say about the carbon footprint of the journey.
Yeah.
But then I monitor the impact that trip has had, the lasting impact it's had on people when they return. And it's been absolutely amazing. I also bring an Amazonian Indian over here every so often who speaks English, and he tours with me. I brought over a couple, and they've spoken at the Houses of Parliament and the Welsh Assembly, but they also go to schools. They've spoken with companies like the senior managers of B&Q. They invited them down to Southampton to speak to them down there. And they have a totally different perspective in the way that they look at things. Yeah. And really, that's what I'm after. I think we're all decent people. I go to prisons. I work with senior citizens. Everybody's important to me, but I want to reach people here in their hearts as well as their heads.
Yeah.
Because if people in industry are addressing sustainability, if they do it only because their line manager has told them to do it, they will never understand it fully and reach the full potential. So I see my job as just trying to motivate people through making them more aware of what is really happening and how each of us as individuals impact on the planet.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about what is really happening. I mean, you've been backwards and forwards to the Amazon rainforest. You spoke about your friend, and I'm going to ask you a little bit more about that because you've told me some good stories before I want to share with my audience. But how have you seen the Amazon change over the years that you've been going, and what are the consequences of the damage to the Amazon rainforest?
Well, the consequences of destroying any rainforest is immense to every single person on the planet. You know, I can go through, like I'm doing a teacher training thing. You know, we get clean water, clean air, the biodiversity, food, and so on, and medicines. I think about 40% of the plants that have been really researched from the rainforest have cancer curing properties. But that's only 40% of the plants we know.
Yeah.
Because if I'm in a forest in Wales, and they're important to keep, the flowers, plants, and animals in one corner will tend to be the same as in the other, but that doesn't happen in a rainforest. The flowers, plants, and animals in one corner, you can't find them anywhere else. So destroy that corner, and loads of species become extinct. Some, or many, we have yet to discover. So if we're thinking and caring about our children, and that's what this is all about, for me, there's nothing more important for any of us adults than looking after this great planet and what it gives us for the future generations. Mm. But if we just willfully just destroy the rainforest, it's morally wrong, it's socially wrong. And the Indians in the rainforest, they tell me, you know, if anybody who's listening would like to come with us, I'm quite happy to take you out there, or if you'd like me to bring over an Amazonian Indian, and they have a different view. They say they coexist with nature.
Yeah.
Because we humans, humanity is part of nature. We're just one species. What they don't understand in our world is that we've got to put humans over here and the rest of nature over there. And he says that can't work. We need what all the other species give us. And to destroy the rainforest, it's just totally wrong. Now, you have to remember also that there's two forests within the rainforest, the primary, which is the older trees, and you've got the secondary. There is a chance we can get the secondary back, but the primary, I doubt it. Those trees have stood for 400 to 500 years. And in all that time, hundreds of other species have learned and adapted to live in, on, and with the tree. So when we destroy the tree, they all go as well. And my interest is in monkeys, mono, as they call them.
Yeah.
On one of our trips, we'd climbed, there's a way we can climb up into the canopy. And it's very interesting. The Amazonian Indians will not put a nail in a tree because they don't want to hurt it. Because they believe it's a living thing. So we've got a ladder around the tree. We get up to the canopy. And we're up there, and I'm looking, and my favorite species of monkey is the howler monkey. And they know that. The Indians are like my pals, you know, and they're going, a lot of them don't call me Phil. They know that a P in our language is pronounced P, and an H in our language is pronounced ha, and then an F is pronounced F. We can't get them to understand if you have a P followed by an H, it's pronounced Phil. Now, they'll call me Pill because they see the P. So they'll go, Pill, Pill. They call me over and they said, look, in the distance. So I got my binoculars out, and in the distance, there was a family of howler monkeys.
Wow.
And I got really excited because I love howler monkeys. And the Indians got very angry with me, which is really rare. And I said, why? And they said, because you know why we're not happy. Why should you be happy about that? Howler monkeys are not meant to be in this area. The reason the howlers are in this area is because the area they're meant to be in has been destroyed. And so we're pushing the wildlife into ever decreasing space. Well, then they can't get food, they can't get nesting sites. And that also goes for the Indians too.
Yeah.
Juan would say, my Amazonian brother, Juan, Kunuchiki, Juan will say that they could go out hunting and in a day come back and they'd have enough food to last them maybe a week. Now they've got to go out 6 or 7 days because of the rarity of the species and the lack of habitat and so on. And we're destroying about a rugby field or a football field of rainforest a minute. That's the latest figures I've got.
Wow. And
if we can't get it back, the chances are we'll run out of a living rainforest that works for the planet by about 2060. All right? Yeah, so there'll still be little national parks of rainforest, but on a global scale, that's going to be useless. You just have to look at Indonesia. I think it's over 80% of orangutan, our closest relatives, 80% of their habitat has been destroyed, most of that for cheap palm oil. You know, and so there are some changes, though, if you're looking at positive. When we go out there, we've seen more and more of the oil industry. And we had rifles pulled on us on one trip because we saw this tanker reversing into the river and releasing all this gunk. And we wanted to take photographs. And the driver and the guy in the cab came out with rifles. And what they're doing is waste oil from somewhere. They were just dumping it into the river. They weren't getting rid of it, even getting rid of that in a environmentally friendly way.
Wow.
There are other things going on as well, because
I'm sure there are. I mean, it's devastating, and when you don't realise how devastating it is, unless you're speaking to somebody like you know, you can sit and watch it on the news and say, oh, you know, that's it's bad, but you probably don't really realise the depths of how bad it is. Can I just ask, you mentioned about the trees. I've been told before, I've read reports, it's about 7 million trees a day, isn't it, that are being destroyed?
Yeah. And also what they'll tell you is that they will want to get to maybe one tree because they know that back in the States or wherever, or in Europe, they can make furniture. So that tree's worth, I'm going to make this up now, $25,000 right, as raw wood. But to get to it, they have to smash up and destroy loads of other trees. And then they just leave those because they don't want the other trees. They just want that one tree.
Yeah.
You know, I asked a politician a long time ago, why don't we just we did it for ivory.
Yeah.
Why don't we have an international ban on tropical hardwoods?
Yeah.
And don't,
what did he say?
Well, this is coming from a sustainable, no, just ban it. It's easy. Otherwise it gets all complicated. Just ban tropical hardwoods.
Yeah.
And I think that it's like fast fashion.
Yeah.
We know that a lot of fast fashion is produced using child labour and so on. And we've banned it in our country quite rightfully. So we know, and if you go online, you can find a list of companies that they know are using fast fashion, selling fast fashion goods.
Yeah.
If they cannot categorically prove that they're not using child labour or exploiting or whatever, then let's just ban fast fashion.
Yeah.
Why can we ban child labour here, but then we're bringing in goods that may have been made through child labour? I think that what we've got to do is learn the word respect again. And I think that what we have to do as well is that we have to stop this sort of short-term selfishness, really.
Yeah.
I tell businesses, please, there is nothing wrong in making millions, but it's how you do it.
Yeah.
With care, respect and responsibility and so on, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of companies now, they have projects around planting trees to offset their carbon. What are your views on that? Well,
planting trees is going to help.
Yeah.
It doesn't help the rainforest in a way because we don't have 500 years to get that tree back to where it was before we destroyed it. It also depends on what type of tree you're planting. I mean, I was reading that, I didn't realize this, that Britain hasn't been very good in managing its natural forests. So we have to import a huge amount of timber for the construction industry and the furniture industry. Now, because of forest fires caused by the climate crisis, there's a shortage of wood.
Yeah.
So here's like three things going on here. A, there's a shortage of wood, so the price of wood goes up. So workers are being laid off because they can't get the wood.
Yeah.
When we do get the wood, it's being shipped in from around the world, and those ships are adding to the climate crisis.
Yeah, of course.
We've got ourselves into this knot, you know, and the latest figures I've seen is that 26% of the human population of the planet is using about 86% of the world's natural resources. And for me, that can't be right.
No.
You know, it can't be right.
No.
We have to stop and take stock of everything, and we have to stop talking. You know, my job, I know, is a lot of talking. And I often think I'm not very good at my job, because if I get people to go, oh, you know what, oh, I've got to do something about that. Are you going to feel the same way in a week's time. You know, you don't have this little pixie Phil sitting on your shoulder, speaking in your ear, going, remember what you said. But with the pressures of everything else, are you really going to do it? I mean, we've got it now with the aeroplanes are coming back. So the aeroplanes all come back, and short term, we all go, oh, that's great. Look, we can have cheap holidays. We can do this. Long term, that pollution is going to build up.
Yeah, well, hopefully with the innovation and how sustainable aviation fuel, I've had lots of conversations with companies about this, that we are going in the right direction, that there
are big steps being taken forward. But we as public now, I don't care whether you're a CEO, the Prime Minister, a president of some far off land, or Phil Williams, or we have to understand that we are very powerful with our shopping.
Yeah.
Right. So if you look at the price of fair trade bananas, it was only several years ago when the gap between the cheapest bananas and fair trade bananas was big.
Yeah.
Now, because we are buying more fair trade bananas, the cost is coming down. So if we only bought British grown food wherever we can, we'd be helping the local farmers. We'd be cutting down on food miles, which adds to the climate crisis, and the balance would be maintained.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just trying to find those ways where we can all do our little bit.
We're definitely starting to see that, though. I read a report recently that the supermarkets are in their supply chain. They're finding more sustainable suppliers. So actually, it is going to get to a point where that does change.
Well, if I can use a company by name, and I
go for it.
I don't normally do it, but Warburton's now use sustainable palm oil in their products. We can argue that they don't need to use palm oil, full stop.
Yeah.
But if you go back several years, they were just using palm oil.
Yeah.
And I think Hovis and people are doing the same. So people are becoming more aware that if I only buy bread that either doesn't have palm oil in or it only has sustainable palm oil, then the others that are using the palm oil, which is often coming from Borneo, will be less likely to use it. They'll be looking for their own sources of sustainable palm oil.
Yeah.
So things are changing. I mean, I know that lots of companies, big companies now, are actually changing. I know that Sony, for example, have a zero waste to landfill, which I can't believe that they're getting there. But they want all the staff to understand why that is so important. Yeah. And the CEO has made lots of speeches about nothing can be more important than creating a sustainable future for future generations.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, obviously, I know you think the climate crisis is bad. It is bad. Do you think that it's too late? Do you think that we can make a difference? Where do you think we are?
No, I in my heart, I have to believe it's not too late. Otherwise, what's the point? Right? What's the point?
In your head?
We have to do is that we have to be honest, and we have to get humanity to be responsible. And I'll give you an example. COP26 is coming up now.
Yeah.
And some of the big players aren't attending, right? Why are they not attending? Surely, as part of humanity, would it not be brilliant for the whole planet to see that every leader is there? It doesn't mean we have to agree with each other, excuse me, and we may not find an actual solution, but at least be there. What it tells me is there's a lot of selfishness and short-term politics going on. And I think that they should be ashamed of themselves, to be frankly honest, for not at least attending.
Yeah.
You know? And then they pull out at the last minute. Very interesting who's pulling out as well, for me. And I work very hard not to become political.
Yeah.
But there's some of the big polluting players are pulling out, and then some of the little countries pulling out are wanting to be best of friends with these bigger countries. I think, but it's all short-termism.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all short-termism. we can make a really great future for individuals and the planet, and we can make our millions if we just slow down a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
And really seriously think of the consequences and what do we want to create for our children.
Yeah.
You know, but Boris, you know, our Prime Minister is dad right now to two very young kids and others too. But what sort of world does he want to create? Because we're creating it now.
Yeah.
You know, I always remember on one of our trips to the rainforest, I hope you don't mind me saying this, we had a teacher with us who liked birds, and this teacher wanted to see if we could find a scarlet macaw, you know, and you can tell I'm not a scientist by the way I describe this, a large red parrot, okay? And so we went off for a walk looking for these scarlet macaws, and we saw some, but we just saw them flying and we couldn't see them. But eventually we found them, and there were about 12 of them up in the trees. But the only way we could get a good look at these incredible birds was by wading out into a river up to our waist in water, the River Napo. So there was me with a group of teachers, I think there were 6 of us, and a guide, up to our waist in water in a line with our binoculars looking at these macaws. When I felt, excuse me, forget that. When I felt something brushing, I tell you what that is, that's my, sorry everybody who's listening to this, my car has been serviced today, and I thought I'd turned the phone off, and I think that that's them telling me that my car is ready. Anyway. Sorry, all right, okay. So, I thought I turned everything off. Anyway, so we were looking at the scarlet macaws, and all of a sudden I felt something brush past the back of my leg, and it was wiggling. I, of course, was very nervous because I'm not very brave, and I know there are snakes in the river because we've been discussing it, and one of them is poisonous, and blah, 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 blah. So I turned to the teachers, who I expected the teachers to act in a mature, adult, teacher-like way. I said, oh my gosh, I said, guys, there is something past the back of my leg. And the teachers looked down to see what it was, and instead of doing what I expected teachers to do, which was to go, oh, it's okay, Phil, it's one of them, and tell me what it was, the teachers looked down and they got so excited. The teachers were acting like kids. They were going like, oh my God, look at that. And I'm going, yeah, but what is it? And they had the nerve to tell me, don't you look down, you just stay still. But when I did look down, I couldn't believe it. And right alongside of me, alongside my leg, was a very rare creature. Right there,
yeah,
was one of the only freshwater dolphins in the world, an Amazonian river dolphin.
No, wow.
Phenomenal dolphin. We believe it was a male, and he stayed there long enough that I could put my arm around him, give him a hug, give him a tickle, have a chat. And I am so serious, and it may sound ever so naive, this. In that one moment with the dolphin, and I've had these with monkeys and everything, but that dolphin taught me something that will stay with me the rest of my life. You see, that dolphin did not see me as a threat and stay away. He wasn't aggressive to me and tried to attack me. I honestly believe that that dolphin was treating me with respect, there's that word, for what I really am. And that is just another species of living thing, the human. We go through the same process as the dolphin and the elephant and the cat. We are born, we live, and at a chosen time we die. We have our time on this great, great planet. And it seems so wrong for us to be messing up nature. Of course, species become extinct and we discover new ones. Of course, climate change is normal. But to have one species, especially that 26% of us only, mucking everything up, seems totally, totally wrong for me. And that's why I decided to give up my career and go around giving these talks and lectures.
Well, I'm glad that you do. In that, what would you, if you was going to say to people, make one change in their lives, what would that be?
Well, I think we can all make different changes. but you're right. Let's start by making one change. Buying locally grown food and produce is a big one.
Yeah.
So going to the supermarket and start looking to see where the food and everything is coming from, that's really, really big. We can help pollinating insects by planting wild British flowers in our garden, little things like that. Stop buying clothes that we know are made through or classed as fast fashion. That's a big one. Because it's very hard to say, well, look, here's a pair of £10 jeans. Oh, I'm going to buy them. They're only £10. And then we only wear them and throw them away. So we're wasting produce. And when we waste produce, we waste the environment. We waste the planet.
It's great to see, actually, that retail industry. They're really starting on the circular economy and, second hand and things like that. I've seen it right up to designer goods.
Yes, and I think that is brilliant. I think that slowly people are coming round.
They are, yeah.
At the political level, and we then, the public, have to support the companies that are doing these things.
Yeah.
Because the more we support them, the more they will do them.
Yeah.
No, I mean, bottom line is they're going to be looking at the cost effectiveness and everything. So rather than have organic cotton products, just two ranges, just to say, look what we're doing. If we then went and bought them, the prices will come down and then they'll buy more of them or produce more of them. So it's not the token gesture we want. We want it to be fundamentally well-rooted. Take public transport is another thing, if you can. I saw a documentary where a family went to get fish and chips twice a week, and they live about a 10-minute walk from the chip shop, but they drove there. The other one is with food as well. The average family of 4 in the UK wastes about £400 to £500 worth sterling of edible food a year, right? So we do that through food going off, the way we prepare food, and then food on the plate wasted. Let's try and let's make sure that we maximize that food. You'll be saving money, by the way. Yeah. And then at the same time, you'll be helping the environment enormously. The last one for me is to do with electricity. And I will say this to corporates as well as to housekeepers. Turn off your electric appliances properly. Turn off your TV. Don't leave it on standby, because you're being charged for the electricity of it being on standby. So we need to make sure that we can reduce our energy waste. And this is why I get frustrated with corporates. And you may be able to explain this a bit more to me. According to the CBI, a report that I saw, companies in Britain waste hundreds of millions of pounds worth of electricity a year by leaving appliances on, lights on, and so on. As a nation, I've seen a report that says we waste up to 40% of the electricity we are producing right now. Why aren't the politicians promoting better use of the energy we can produce right now? We don't need to be building nuclear power stations, in my opinion. We need to be getting the public to maximize the energy we can produce right now. But here's where the problem is. That means that we're not going to be buying more energy right now. And then you've got companies over here who don't, are all short term, who are saying, well, that's not for us. We want people to buy as much energy as they can. Even if they waste it, we want them to keep buying it. Yeah. And I get frustrated at that, because I think especially the politicians, they should be promoting a program of saving the energy we can produce right now.
Yeah.
We need to all work together a bit better, I think, really.
Yeah, I was speaking to somebody yesterday on a webinar, and they were saying that when we switched to LED lighting, we saved 20% of the energy. 20%. I mean, that is huge. It's almost like, you want a new policy where, imagine if you could walk out a building and it's last one out turns the lights off. If there was a switch as you close the building, as the last person leaves, that turns all the power off.
Well, I mean, I agree. And then people will say, well, we have to have some lighting for security and everything. I agree with that too. But when I walk past buildings at 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and every floor, all the ceiling lights are on. I'm going, well, and I don't understand. Does the company not realize how much money they're wasting?
I know.
You know, so there's an environmental impact and there's a financial impact. And then you go down, there's a social and moral impact, you know.
Yeah.
And so we've just got to be conscious of it. And by being conscious of it, say to ourselves, you know what, we're going to do something about it. And that's why the children are so important.
Yeah.
You know, children need to, I'm sorry if this sounds wrong, they need to nag parents. They need to write to companies. I talk to some people, they don't even know the name of their MP.
Yeah.
You know, so we need to keep the pressure on all of us, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a great job right now. I'm only doing it for about half the week. I am environmentalist in residence at Piper's Corner School. It's an independent girls' school with a visionary for a head. I think the head, Helen, is just unbelievable. My work is not only inside the school. They cover my costs, but that enables me, on behalf of Piper's Corner, to go out to all the other local authority schools in the area. They don't have to pay for me going out there. We're doing joint activities. We're making the environment and sustainability part of the ethos of the school. It's coming into different subjects. The way the school is managed and run is more environmentally friendly. And it really has come from the head, supported by members of staff. And there's a lot of media attention on this approach. And what I'm really honoured to be their environmentalist in residence. We think it's the only one in the country. But what is so amazing is that it shows me that one person, and then she's supported by a small group of people, can make these positive changes.
Yeah.
You know, and so we all start thinking, oh, you know what, I could do that. Yeah, I can make that happen. I could do that, you know. And I'm working now with the Ospreys rugby.
Yeah, brilliant.
You wouldn't automatically go Ospreys, environment and sustainability. No, but they want to bring that in. So we're actually doing that as part of a well-being program. So you just have to step outside the box. You have to have the ability to accept that we need to change, and then we need to change. What we cannot do any longer, and David Attenborough and Prince William, Prince Charles, and lots of other famous people have been saying, we can't just keep talking, because we've been talking for 15, 20 years. This has been coming along. But now it's coming to a point where we are going towards a tipping point, but I believe that we won't reach it. I have a son, and for my son's future and for his benefit, I just hope we don't reach it. And that's why I know you're running a sustainability
conference, the responsible,
you know, and those sort of things are not just important, they are vital.
They really are.
But we have to take what we will gain from, say, your conference, turn it into practice, and then the changes can be made.
Yeah, I'm afraid we're out of time. I've actually got another meeting that is waiting to enter, but don't be sorry at all. This has been brilliant, and Phil, you really inspire me, and you just make me want to keep on going. You're doing some amazing work, and don't stop what you're doing. And thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it, and I look forward to working with you in the future, speaking to you in the future. I love your stories, and thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, anybody who's watching. You know, and if you have a bad day, we all have bad days, like, oh, why am I doing this? Right. Just remember that it's got a really important end product that we need to keep going for, and pick each other up and keep going in that direction.
Exactly. What a nice way to end. Thanks, Phil. Have a good day.
All right. And you. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye, Sam.